How's it going, everybody? This is Jeff Bain with Team Reelin the Blues. I've been hearing a lot of chatter here lately on Facebook and on other social media talking about the 6500s and talking about they just don't have enough drag. You can't fight a fish. You can't turn a fish in current. Well, this is all I use, the 6500 C3s and the older 6500 originals. I love those reels. I've never had a fish that they couldn't handle. That ain't saying there's not one out there I can't, but those reels seem to always work good for me. So, tonight I'm just going to go over the basics of how to swap out this drag, because that's the complaint I hear. It only has about 12 to 14 pounds of drag. That's how it comes from the factory. That's how this reel is actually engineered. It's engineered for that much drag. The gears are designed for that much drag. The paw gear is designed for that much drag. We're going to replace these drag washers with carbon fiber drag washers. They got a lot more texture than the factory drag washers, which should increase the drag significantly. I'm not going to put any lube on them, which I don't recommend. I recommend at least a drop, especially if you're going to go up to a carbon fiber drag washer. We're going to see just how much drag we can get in this reel, but that'll be for a later episode, so stay tuned. Tonight, we're just going to go over how to change out the drag washers and how quick and easy it can actually be done. You got to remember, drag washers, this paw gear, they're consumables. They do wear out. They're meant to wear out, and they're really easy to change. So let's get started. If you're wanting to get a little bit better drag on these 6500s and about any Ambassador reel, they're all pretty much the same. These drag washers right here are carbon fiber, because we're going to try to talk about how to get more drag. Can I get this reel up over 20 pounds? You know, this reel's only capable of about 14 to 15 pounds if it's working perfectly. These reels are designed for a specific amount of drag maximum. I kept my good old Ambassador wrench that came in the kit when I bought the reel brand new. I've got all these older design 6500 C3s for the most part. This is probably the newest one I own. So let's just do it. It's not that hard. So the first thing you got to do is you got to take this screw out right here. You got to forgive me while I'm doing this because I'm trying to watch the viewfinder while I'm doing it. You just take out that screw. Take off this lock. Take your wrench, pop that little nut loose. Take the nut off. If you'll look, there's a little C-clip right here. That C-clip keeps the handle from popping off. And it also keeps this shaft with the right amount of tension on the inside. That way you don't wear the gears uneven. So we got to pop that off. You got to watch out, it's tiny. It's real easy to lose. We'll set that off to the side. Now your handle should come right off. What I always tell people, before you pull the handle, go ahead and back this drag off like this. That way you can hold the spool to keep it from turning. Because right now the shaft on the spool won't turn, but this will. Alright, pop the handle off. Take this completely off. Remove it. Now, I keep these finger tight. There's 3 of those. Remove them. I like to loosen this up before I pull it off. That way I can pull this, and there's a keeper. Pop it off. Remember how you pulled it off. Now, you can get to the guts inside the reel. You don't really have to pull this whole assembly off to do this, but I usually do. Alright, so now all you gotta do is take these 2 screws right here. Remove them. Take those 2 screws out. Now, this whole cover should slide right off. You should be able to pull it off. I put a little pressure on that right there to keep it from coming up. Like this. Push down on this shaft right here. And just kind of pick up on that right there. And you can pull that whole assembly off. That way you didn't have to mess with any of that. Now, All your drag washers are right up underneath here. Just take this shaft, slide it straight up and off. You'll notice there's a little brass shim right here. Be careful, make sure it don't come off with this, because you can lose it. You want it right here. Alright, this is all you need to change out the drag. Pretty simple. Pull off the spacer. I usually just turn it upside down. There's your drag washers, and there's your metal disc. So you just gotta pop them off, and there they are. One washer, one metal disc, washer, metal disc, washer, metal disc. It's pretty simple. You've got one more drag washer left. What you have to do is you have to push down the shaft while you push up on the gear. And when you do, the gear pops right off. And right here is your fourth drag washer. And it's usually smaller. Right there. Now to replace them, all you gotta do is remove the drag washers completely. Most time I try to clean this up, get all the oil, make sure there's no grit or anything like that. Clean it pretty good. See, it's pretty clean. And here's where you'll have a difference of opinion amongst people. Some people will oil or use a grease on their drag washers, which I recommend using a light oil. And the reason why is, you know how hot that spool gets when you stick your thumb on it when a fish is running. Now imagine that times about 100, because when you pack these drag washers in here completely dry, when a fish is running, there's enough heat generated right there to melt plastic. I promise you, there's no problem with it generating that much heat. And that's the reason why I use just a little oil. I don't use nothing really heavy. I use a very light oil. There's also stuff out there called drag butter or real butter, but they actually make a drag grease that you can order online. You just have to punch it up and look for it. But you put a super thin layer. You don't gob it on there. You just put a super thin layer. Now, the drier these are, the more drag you're going to get. But that's not always a good thing. And we'll discuss that in a later video. So, to put it back, you just go direct opposite of the way you took it apart. There's one. Put your gear back. All you got to do is pop this back on. Pop it down. Now it's locked. See, this spins. This whole thing spins inside that gear. The only thing that turns this here is when these drag washers lock up. This here is supposed to have free play. Alright, so you put one in. Put your next drag washer. That's the new carbon fiber drag washer. Put your next metal disc. Next washer. Next metal disc. And you'll notice this one's a little different. Your final drag washer. Put your final metal disc on. There's your drag assembly. Now, we put that back on. That's just a spacer. Slide it back down. Make sure the gears line up, and you're done. It's that simple. Put this back on. These don't have to be super tight, but they got to be snug, because you wouldn't believe how many people lose this particular screw right here. Alright, make sure everything went back down in there the way it's supposed to. Now you're ready to put your actual star drag. Now you got to be careful, because a lot of people will get these crossed up. You just got to be real careful. Make sure it starts real easy. You should be able to flick it and get it to spin on that shaft. Like that. Then once it does that, you'll notice it wants to turn the whole shaft. Just drop this down on it. That keeps it from turning. Spin it. Alright, that's how easy it is. So if you'll notice, I didn't put any type of oil or any type of grease on the drag. I done that for a reason. We're going to see just how much drag I can get on this reel. But we're also going to see what kind of damage can be done by increasing the drag well beyond the engineering of this reel. Okay, let's go ahead and button the reel up the rest of the way and get done with it. We're finished. I hope you've seen just how easy this was, and it took away the fear of replacing those. I'll be doing videos later on that show a complete teardown and cleaning and oiling of this reel. And I'll also be showing you what happens when you go beyond the limitations of a reel like this. This is a great reel. There is nothing wrong with these Ambassador reels. But I'm going to show you what happens when you take it beyond its engineered limits. But that'll be for a later video. So keep watching for it. It'll be coming out pretty soon. If you have any questions or comments, feel free to leave them. I'll try to get back with you as soon as I can. Thank you for watching. I really appreciate it.